This episode was sponsored by Showbiz Management, Vancouver's premier talent agency providing background performers and actors for all areas of media, including film, television, commercials, music videos, documentaries, and much more. So if your production needs performers or you want to be a background performer yourself, please visit them at www.showbizmanagement.com or call them at 604-435-7469. That's Showbiz Management, providing quality performers since 1993. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tons Productions podcast on this Monday, August 5th, 2019. Today, I have a conversation with Julie Bernard. She is the manager of production services at Creative BC and has over 20 years of experience in the film industry. And she really knows her stuff, so it's a great interview. She's also very excited about a project she's working on called Real Green, and this will make the film industry environmentally friendly, and we need that for sure. So here you go. Here is Julie Bernard. You are listening to the Tons of Productions podcast. Hello, Julie. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you for your interest in Creative BC and Real Green, Michael.
Well, I appreciate that you took time to talk to me because a lot of my friends told me that I should talk to you about this,
Yes.
Jason Cox and Marnie Orr, and
Yes.
a bunch of people had mentioned it, that this is a newer thing in the film industry, and I'm intrigued by it because of the environment, and it really
Yes.
helps with that. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we realize as a country and as a province, even municipalities are focusing on climate urgency. And so we are in the right time to implement this into the industry for sure. I mean, just as a little background, Real Green was formulated in 2006 when I was at the BC Film Commission. I wasn't the charge on it then, but we had basically launched it at that time and tried to get the basic involvement of all the different stakeholders to address impacts of the motion picture industry and help production reduce their environmental impacts, of course. And, we did what we could back then, and then we handed it back to industry. And I realized 3 or 4 years ago, Marnie and I, got together with this consultant, Zena Harris, who you are hopefully going to interview because she's fabulous.
Nice.
So she's got her master's from Harvard in sustainability, and she did her master's thesis on the film industry. So that's fantastic. And then she moved here from the States pretty much 5-6 years ago, and then tried to launch what she thought was necessary for the industry. And it timed out well for us as well as an industry because we decided to sit down and hammer out a strategic plan for 5 years, which was the beginning of it. Our mission statement, of course, is to enable the evolution and implementation of sustainable practices in the motion picture industry to contribute to the betterment of the world. So that's kind of our big focus.
Okay.
And it's a big one,
Yeah.
a tall order, but, it just takes time and it takes changing behavior. And I believe this is the right time for people in production to be able to come aboard. So, Real Green is a nonprofit program. I mean, we host it at the Provincial Film Commission here at Creative BC, and it's funded by the Motion Picture Industry Partners, of which we have 18 partners.
Okay.
So we've been able to, for the last 3 years, raise funds from these partners to run the program. So we're probably up to, my math is right, 100 the first year, 100,000, 140,000 the second year, and I believe we're almost 150,000 this year.
Oh, so it's growing.
So it's really growing. We had, all different areas. It's the studios, the physical studios, it's the suppliers, it's the unions. It's also got the Canadian Producers Association. And it's really grown to the point where everybody needs to be part of this, and we all need to be making the difference, right? It's not just one area of the industry. So what we did is I guess it was about 3 years now, we did a license agreement with BAFTA, who have a very robust program over there for their BBC members, and they are required to take the course and be sustainable. So they've been able to train up, I think around 2,000 people so far.
Wow, that's a lot.
I know, it's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, to give you the parallel, we've been able to get 270 people in the course in the last year and a half. And I guess what happens is when you're busy, people are tired, and they're not really required to take the course, but we would love it. And when people take the course, it's a 6-hour course, and it teaches them about climate science, and then the last half of it is all about solution making and getting committed and engaged to, take it to task, and how can you make it better in your department or area. And, they say, why isn't this required? So we are hoping that eventually the pressures will come from whether it's the U.S. studios, if it's a Fox or Warner Brothers show, or we can get the pressures from the local producers and production managers. So we're trying to engage all the different areas. And as I said, the unions are all at the table, and they are doing their best in encouraging their members. So, what we have as four priorities is education, of course, and we call this the Carbon Literacy course that we adapted from BAFTA in the UK, and it's a 6-hour course. It's free, and we hosted it at ActSafe, which is a great place for it to be because they also are required at ActSafe to take courses on orientation, set orientation, for all crew members going into the union, and they also have to take safety courses in certain departments. So this is just a natural fit.
It's just add to the onset etiquette. There's a whole bunch of different ones you have to take, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this is one that I hope one day you'll check the list and you will be required to take it because the shows will need to have certification to be able to be maybe, they'll be certified to be able to get maybe extra tax credits one day. I mean, this is our dream, but, who knows? It's just where it may go. So we're hoping that, little by little, this will be a requirement because it really does compel the crew to take action.
So is it going to be like a sexual harassment kind of seminar? Because I've had those in different shows, they have a beginning of the year and you have to sign off that you actually sat through it and stuff?
Well, it is somewhat like that, about 6 hours. And I think we call it the Respectful Workplace Seminar that is being given recently. I believe it's about 2 or 3 hours. But what we've been able to do is because we saw the course was so long, we actually filmed and shot and put together a wonderful video, which I'm happy to share with you. It's called Be Real Green.
Okay.
And everything's on our website. It's hosted on the Creative BC website. It's called realgreen.ca. That's 2 E's for real.
Okay. Real, yes.
Had to take that word right in there. and so the Be Real Green video is only 12 minutes, but in it, it's really a crash course in, oh my God, this is what the urgency of the climate changes and what we're doing to the planet. Here's now 10 things you can do.
Right.
All the way from not printing scripts, using the apps that are out there, or, obviously reduce, reuse first before recycling, and thinking about no plastic bottles. Now you're always using, containers that you bring your own coffee mug or your own water bottle.
Right.
And emissions, fuel emissions. So, we've been able to meet with the car companies to talk them into bringing in hybrids, eventually electric vehicles, as we get more sophisticated with charging stations and more of them around our Metro Vancouver. So that's all exciting, right? So we have had some success by bringing people together. We do have Real Green meetings every 2 months for anybody in the industry to attend here at Creative BC.
Oh, cool.
And we get everybody around the table with discussion and some action items. And it really is interesting how everybody has something to say and their challenges and then the solutions that we all come up with. So that's what we call our engagement piece. And then we engage people with the monthly newsletter, which I'm happy to share with you, which has case studies, usually about 4 different articles each month. Plus, we're talking about what's going on in the industry. So it's really great. And that's sort of falling into the communication piece. And then lastly, we're tools and resources. So we're trying to make it so easy that, on our website, you can find the best practices for your department. And we have best practice examples that we've always had on our Real Green website. We've taken them now recently from the PGA Green, which is the Producers Guild of America Green Sustainable Initiative, because they've really formulated it in a very comprehensive way. So we post their best practices are really detailed, right, each department, what you can do, holding your suppliers responsible for their packaging all the way to, I want to be able to, recycle and reuse. So it's
right.
It's just thinking through it. I mean, Zena and Keeping It Green is another company that supplies all the waste recycling bins to all the productions and Creative BC.
Okay.
And that's Kelsey Evans, and she, of course, would be wonderful to interview for you as well.
Yeah.
She comes from being a PA in the industry and growing up being a recycler, just naturally organic person, and then she all those years ago so frustrated with how things were wasted and being taken to the landfill. So she started her company, small first, and then she's really grown. So I would say
nice.
90% of the shows have her recycling bins, because there's in offices, production offices, you can have more of them, like taking batteries and light bulbs and those kind of things, and paper and all that. And then when you're on location, which is more challenging, you have the 3-bin system, which is the compost, the recyclables, and then, of course, the garbage. And of course, you try and hide the garbage one a little bit farther away.
Yeah, but you have those like in the circus,
yeah.
like you have it by catering or everywhere on set and stuff.
Catering, craft service, work trucks, right at the location itself. So they are amazingly thoughtful about this now on shows where they're getting the location department on board and making sure they order the right bins and they have the signage, which is helpful when you have a picture of what really goes in what bin, because you can imagine the crews are pretty tired by the end of the day, and they're going, okay, where am I supposed to put this cup, and where's this going? So we try and make it easy, and eventually when we get more resource time, we will definitely list all the great official green companies that are here in BC.
Right.
On the Real Green website. We used to actually do it way back, but we want to make sure that nobody's greenwashing, that they're actually legitimate and green. So that's going to take us a little time. We do have a short list that Zena and Kelsey can share with people when they ask. And what Zena and Kelsey also saw that was a big void was, where do you take sets when they wrap the shows? They don't want them to go in the bins or the garbage anymore.
Right.
So they opened up something called Sustainable Lockup. And with that is a place in, I believe it's in Coquitlam, and they have probably about 2,500 square feet of a warehouse that they say will charge you a minimal amount to drop it off, and so they can, drop off flats, and they can drop off, furniture, costumes, anything that comes from the set that they don't know what to do with.
And they want to store,
and then they basically offer it for free to anybody in the industry and or even theater groups, even schools have been aware. They have like a list of people they just sort of can distribute an email to and say, this is what we've got in storage right now. Do you need it? They've had actually shows, and a lot of movie of the weeks, of course, don't need studio space. And so if they need anything at all, it's so easy for them to come and get the flats and use them and then bring them back. And I think we've had some shows have done it, our producers have done it 3 times in a row. So it's amazing. It's an amazing resource, and we get the word out. And then the other wonderful thing they do is food donation. So they've set up a system, and just so all the listeners understand, it is legal. The Good Samaritan Act in Canada and the province allows production and companies who have food that they don't know what to do with. At the end of the day, as long as it's refrigerated in a certain amount of time and packaged and put in a fridge, you are allowed to take it to the shelters.
Oh, okay.
So they have a system where they even have fridges that were donated. So say a show like Warner Brothers The Flash or X-Files, I think X-Files was the first one that did the testing of it. So they had a fridge and they had signage of instructions and a number to call. So they basically, if it was the production office extra food or if it was on set catering extra food, it gets put in the fridge, labeled for the time and date, and then they quickly text the shelter, whoever's sort of in the area, and they will come and pick it up right away. So they've, I think, at least done 5,000 or 6,000 meals last year.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
and they
so good to
continue.
hear.
Yeah, so they continue to do it this year, and it just goes on and on. So I just need people to be aware that it is actually condoned and it is legal, because I think a few shows are still misunderstanding that. So that's exciting that we can help people out there, in the schools. And the other thing we're doing is, Zena and I knew it was important to work with the film schools. So we have been able to do 4 different meetings with all of the film schools in Greater Vancouver. SFU, UBC, BCIT, CAP University, Emily Carr, and I might have missed one, but they're all willing to sit and discuss how they, as they get the film students early days, can get them to embrace the behaviors. Although I have to say the young people are almost on board anyway. But
Right.
as long as they're giving this, they're feeling confident about going on set and going, hey, this is what I've learned. Can I not share this out? So anyway, they're going to play the Be Real Green video for them in the course, and they're going to encourage them to take the full course. And they will also have best practice expectation when they're filming their projects. Like Vancouver Film School was very engaged, and he said, oh, absolutely. He had Zena's gal come, Jennifer Sandoval is one of the teachers of the course. So she came to Vancouver Film School and spoke to a lot of the students recently. So, it's exciting times, because that's a really great place to get them right at the beginning of their learning process, and just make this so natural that this is the new way of filmmaking. This is just the way it's done.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I like before I noticed the change happening, but that was just the conscience of the people of the crew. Like they would just do things in order to make it more environmentally friendly, but there was no actual focus on it being the industry is friendly to the economy.
I mean, we're working, as I say, with the Los Angeles studio. Zena has the pipeline there. I mean, she is a contractor or consultant, basically, that we pull in to run the program for Real Green Initiative. She also works on set. I mean, she's been hired directly by Warner Brothers, and she's been on The Man in the High Castle and X-Files.
Right.
So she's hired by the studio themselves to manage and monitor and implement on that production, which is amazing. Not all shows can afford to maybe do that, so we do offer on production support. And so that means that a Hallmark show, for example, we've gone on because we were asked by the unit manager to come and try and talk to them at the production meeting level and try and give them some ideas for what you can put on the call sheet as reminders about not idling, or remember to put everything in the right receptacle, like no more water bottles, single-use items, things like that. So just little reminders. So we've been able to help, all levels of shows. And lots of, as I say, crew come to the Real Green meetings as well when they can. And then they, can basically get tools and education that they need to bring it back to that production.
Right.
So it's been really, it's almost like contagious, and we're trying to introduce some challenges. We're trying to introduce challenges too, so that shows can go, well, because they have a really cool thing they do within the shows. They compete for the Thanksgiving food bank, charity, donations. So they come up with, I think it was one show did $30,000 to donate to the food bank around Thanksgiving. So we're thinking, okay, we're talking about having a legacy project where, every dollar they donate can go to planting trees. And that actually is something real, that you can say as an industry. So we've got, and challenges from between show to show, like, hey, this week we ate less meat. I know the Magicians producer, Clara George, is one of our biggest champions. And so she has come up with, we're going to, out of 150 pounds of meat, we're only going to serve 50 pounds.
Right.
So, you start doing it one thing at a time, and you figure out where you can make the differences. They're doing a lot of paperless processes in the office by distribution electronically. There is great apps out there for scripts. Scripts is probably the worst one, where you're printing scripts and then your revisions come in, your revisions come in. It's just going endless. And going and going.
Yeah.
And so a guy in LA, he got so fed up because he was managing, he was a script supervisor, and he was managing the script distribution within a production down there. And I think it was about 5 years ago. He said, enough. So he came up with something called scriptation, and that's unbelievable. So it's something where he's designed it so you can bring in all your notes. You can either share it just for yourself or with your team or with the whole show. So that was always the problem before, because you wrote your own notes over there. If you were a special effects guy or if you were the assistant director, you all had your own notes. But now you can still bring in those notes every time, and then you've got it on your iPad or your computer. So that has been implemented on quite a few shows as well.
Right.
And we're working with the payroll companies to try and get them eventually developing, and I think they're in process right now. So there's EP Canada and there's Cast and Crew, and those are the two main payroll companies. So they've designed some electronic software that they're doing, in the States, and we're trying to get them to bring some of they have Synchronize already being used up here, but there's other ones for the Start Pack or the onboarding of crew. And that one's huge because that's 55 pages of paper for every crew member.
Wow. That's insanity.
Right? It's insanity. So we could, wouldn't that be great? And wouldn't direct deposit be great?
I know. Paychecks and all the stuff.
Yeah. So when you think of the millions of pieces of paper, so that's just one area. And then the fuel emissions, of course, is huge. And wouldn't we all love Elon Musk's big, huge 40-footers to come up here be on the road? I mean, I know the city's doing what they can, and they're putting some pretty urgent measures forward. Adrian Carr's been very supportive. Lately they've done something with, in council where they're going to encourage more power drops, we call them, in the more popular locations downtown Vancouver, so that we will have somewhere to tie in for the units, so that we don't have to always bring the diesel generators.
Right.
And there is electric generators also available. I mean, I know they're a little more money, but they really make a difference in sensitive locations and park areas and things like that.
Oh, there's so many different aspects on the film thing that can be cleaned up like that. It's unreal.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. So, I mean, all of this is just part of what we do, and it's a very exciting time, for sure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. When did you start working on set? How long ago?
Well, my history is, my history goes back to, God, I'm trying to think, in the 80s, since I was, 12.
Oh, wow.
No, I've been there a long time. Yeah, I started out, funny enough, at BCIT, and I didn't know kind of what I wanted to do. I remember going down to California, and my sister was living there. She said, women would make great editors. And I remember her saying that to me. And I came back and started looking into the schools here. And I got into BCIT in broadcasting. And it was a fabulous 2-year course. And then I came out at BCTV working news, which was, I wasn't sure if that's really where I should be.
Yeah.
But then I realized 2 years later, no, that's not me. So I ended up doing, when Tom Jones came here, I don't know if you remember the Tom Jones show, that was 1980.
Wow. No, I moved here in 93 from Ontario.
Right. So I did the variety Tom Jones show, and that was such a blast after doing it. So it was a lot of fun. Music is always fun. And then I was going, okay, so now we're talking 1980. So then I'm going, okay, what else is going on here? So nothing much in those days was really happening in Vancouver. So I got a job at CBC. I think it was a cooking show. And I'm like, okay, now what? And then so I ended up going to Toronto, and I got hired on SCTV, and I worked on the location crew. I had so much fun with those guys, I have to say. They're brilliant, funny, wonderful.
That is amazing. Experience. That was one of my favorite shows. Wow.
I know, right? So they were, and John Candy, we loved him.
Yes.
Anyway, so I had a very fun time in Toronto, but I knew that wasn't home. And then, as it turned out, 1984, there was, 6 projects that year, and the 6th one couldn't find crew. And so they were looking for a production coordinator, and I said, I can be a quick learn. And I remember sitting with someone in Toronto who was a production coordinator going, okay, tell me how to do this.
Oh, wow.
And I production coordinated a movie with Tatum O'Neal, Certain Fury. And so that was kind of the beginning of my career in Vancouver. And so then after that, it was a lot of Cannell. I worked in Stephen J. Cannell for about 3 years with a wonderful producer, John Smith, and we had a lot of fun on those shows. I did one up in Yellowknife for CBC, Frostfire. I mean, I bumped around a bit. I did a feature, Unforgettable, with Ray Liotta, and a lovely Italian, Dino De Laurentiis, of course, and an Italian producer. So that was 95. And then I had a kid.
Ah.
So, life kind of changed in 97 when I had my kid, and I had my own paint your own ceramic store in West Van. And I thought I could get out of the industry, but you know what? I got called back by the BC Film Commission.
Oh,
and I know Marnie,
how you started there.
Well, Marnie told you how she did it. So I did the same thing. I came and helped them in between gigs. And so when my kid was 2, they kept calling me saying, Julie, you should try it. Come on, 9 to 5. So I wasn't sure if I was ready to break away from my little one yet. But you know what? I came in, I said, I'll do 3 months. That was in 2000. And of course, almost 20 years later, I'm still here.
Yeah, no, that's great. So when I looked on
so,
IMDb and looked you up, there was back in the 90s is when you were on set mostly. The location manager for Murder in My Mind, Kidnapping in Family, those ones? Okay.
Yeah, all the fun stuff. Yeah, so location managing, it was probably not as hard as it is now. I mean, it was a great gig. I started out being a production coordinator, and then pretty soon after I wanted to get out on set. And I just thought, I want to mix it up. So I kind of braved the storm. It was almost like the most insane thing I ever did, but switching. I did commercials for a bit at Circle Productions, and then I jumped into the fire at Cano with John Smith on a show that had 30 locations and a second unit the first time. It was called Top of the Hill. Well, I thought I was going to have a breakdown at that point, because I said, oh my God, this is a hard job. But now it's even harder. But, trial by fire, and we had a lot of fun. And, but I feel for the guys, and that's why Marnie and I love to be able to help them here. We do what we can, because that's what we're here for, both to sell the province as a film destination, internationally, but also to help our local producers and location teams. And so we have our open houses every couple of months to get the location managers and scouts in here so we can actually connect and get them.
Yeah, that's what Marnie was saying.
Other.
Yeah.
And what's obvious, because we miss them, ever since that library went online, it's like nobody comes to visit anymore. So so we try and engage as much as we can. And because of the history I have with producers in the local industry, it's helped me grow Real Green, because I am the leader from Creative BC working closely with Zena, and we basically have moved this along in the last 3 years to be quite a force, and we're very proud of it, and it's nice to be a leader. I mean, we've got the interest of the other provinces as well, so I believe Ontario and Quebec are about to join forces.
Nice. So you're going to spread across the country. That's great.
Yeah, well, what they'll do is they'll co-license with BAFTA. We are the holder of the license for Canada, so they will take the tools. Zena can be hired by them to set them up, just as we've structured, because we have our partners and advisory committees, and they can do the same in Ontario and Quebec and other provinces as they need. We want to encourage the world to join forces. I mean, we work. Zena works with the UN, and we are coming up with something called the Pact, which is some language that enables jurisdictions around the world to be able to work towards the same goals, and gives them stepping stones and how-tos and a collaboration mechanism. So it's really exciting times, because it's not just BC. I mean, everybody's concerned about, how to make a lesser footprint in whatever business you're in. Yeah.
And in Canada, I can't.
A big impact.
Well, yeah, exactly, huge impact. But I can't see the government turning their nose up or becoming a rule in the future, because so many people are concerned about the environment that this is a perfect path for people to go down, and you kind of laying it for everyone so they can make it easier, so that it doesn't affect their job and they're not taken out of focusing on what's important to them.
Well, and we've been able to engage with both federal and provincial ministers of finance. I mean, the environment, Minister McKenna. It was very exciting. We got to go to Prime Time, which is the Canadian Producers Association convention back in Ottawa. So Marnie and I went there, and I think it was the end of January. And Zena, I asked them if they would like Zena to speak, and they said okay. So she talked about Real Green in front of all the producers that attend, which is fantastic. And then I was able to speak to all the provinces as well, and explain how it works here. And then out of that, then it's the launch pad of taking it across Canada. So
right.
That was amazing to see, because a lot of them were saying, "Wow, you're doing that over there," and that's the thing. You see one person doing it, and then it makes you feel that you should be doing something more.
Oh yeah.
So I think that worked really well. For what the purpose of it, and then even we've been working with CBC, and they are very interested and realize that it's something important to them as well. So they're going to partner with us very soon.
Nice. So it'll affect actual live TV and actual networks, which is great.
Exactly. Yeah. No, they actually brought Zena out to speak to them in Toronto. I think it was a month ago. So there's lots of arms to this. Sometimes Zena and I kind of go, okay, how do we keep up? And my main job is manager of production services, but this is such a natural piece that goes with this, because we need to be the ambassadors. Marnie is the film commissioner, and myself has always been managing and trying to connect with people. And to that end, that's why we have been so successful in getting Real Green as far as we have, is because of our connections. And I guess between Marnie and I, we know everybody. We are influencers, right? And we want to be able to encourage and maybe sometimes push hard, but it's worked very well here, and so it's amazing how much people would like to do, as long as you make it easy for them.
Oh yeah.
So we've made all these videos. So again, we've done the Be Real Green video with 12 minutes, and then we decided to do these 10 short videos. Each one is like fuel emission savings, and then we want to go with no plastics anymore, and
just each subject
paperless. Yeah. So and lighting is a big deal. So LED lights and stuff. So we've created all these videos for that purpose. It's pretty exciting times, and it feels good to do this kind of thing as an industry, because we are out there and we're in communities, and we work closely together. Marnie is community affairs minded as well as I'm trying to land them, and then once they're here, the footprint. So we are all trying to be in neighborhoods and being mindful about how do they receive us and how do we look. Are we passing the test? So if we have an electric generator, as we move forward more and more, that's a lot easier on the impact.
And quieter and a whole bunch of things.
If they see us recycling, then they see, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, there's all these things that we can do better, and we are actually almost, getting it on most of the shows. So
great.
Pretty proud of it.
That's good. No, I think it's amazing. I haven't been on set in a couple of years, but I saw the progression of things getting more and more, and this is exactly what. Because when I was on set, people were like, "What do we do? Where do we put this?" I'd be a production assistant in charge of the garbage, but I don't know how to separate stuff. And this education will really touch the whole industry, which is great. It's not just it starts here, but it's going to grow and be huge.
Yeah. Well, you see that it is almost contagious, because, as I say, people that take the course, I took, actually, it's funny because Zena laughed at me because I took the first 5 courses that they taught, because every time I wanted to be part of that energy and that, kind of magic that happens when people click and then they get it, and now they got ideas, and this is what, so it was almost that pay you forward information flow, because you'd actually learn something from somebody in another department. They go, well, we can do this, and then you bring it forward again. So that is pretty cool when this kind of thing happens, the synergies. And then of course, we've also been the main sponsor for the Sustainability Production Forum, which is in its 4th year.
Okay.
So I just want to sort of do a shout out for that. So that will be November 1st and 2nd, hosted at Emily Carr.
Okay.
A beautiful new facility there, and we'll have a lot more workshops. They can go to sustainableproductionsforum.com, I believe, and get more of an update. Anybody that's listening, but we did it for 3 years, aligned with VIF, the film festival, and we felt this year that it kind of had grown to be its own entity now. So Zena has been always the curator, but now she is running the show. So it's going to be pretty exciting times, and we've got lots of great sponsors. Always looking for more, of course.
Yeah, of course, but that's great.
It's really great. Huh. So I hope that gives you a good sort of idea of what's going on here. And as I say, realgreen.ca has an archive of all the wonderful newsletters, because there's a lot of information, and it's great to be able to, recap and get it so that on your show, well, wow, that show did this. And so we try and capture all the great stories and things that other shows are doing. And then it just sort of snowballs out from there.
Wow, that was very clear and concise. You laid it out exactly what.
Okay.
I didn't even have to ask questions. That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, I know this so well. Do you think I'm passionate?
No, that's great. And isn't it really funny about how all these people that I've talked to that are behind this and moved up are from locations? Yeah. They're all location managers at one time, and
we're those action, make it happen people, right?
Yeah, because maybe that's what it is. Maybe it just goes with the job or something. I don't know.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time and telling us all about it, because I'm so appreciative, and I'm looking forward to the changes that are coming. I'm sure a lot of people will be talking about it and seeing it in the future.
Yeah, that's great, Michael, and love to meet you sometime. Maybe we'll even see you at the Sustainable Forum.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. Marnie's going to send me an email, so I think I'm going to come down and check it out.
Okay, or even our offices, but we'd love to meet you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay,
Michael.
Well, you have a great day, and thanks for taking time again, and I will talk to you soon.
Okay, Michael.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
That was great. Julie is so nice. Join me next Monday when I talk with Maya Bankovic. She is a cinematographer who is based in Toronto, and it's a fantastic interview. So I will talk to you next week. And until then, take care and have a